I've had the opportunity to do a lot of mentoring and a lot of counseling with young people, but I also see this conversation happen a lot with my peers. And it seems that we're all looking for the same thing, and that thing is a role. I think that we feel lost in life when we don't have a place, when we don't have even something as simple as feeling connected inside of a family or a community or a job. I believe that we are meant to have roles in life. What do I mean by roles? I mean this understood position inside of a network, a society, a community. We know where we stand. Now, you could say that different family members have roles, husband, wife, mother, father, sibling, brother, sister, daughter, son. There's these different roles. When you say those words, we know kind of what they mean, and you're given that position. It can happen inside of a company. It can happen inside of a church. It can happen inside of a school. If you think about it, there are roles in almost every sector of life. But I think we get lost when we feel like we don't have a role, or a role has been removed from us, or we thought we had a role, but then we realized we didn't actually have that standing. I think that we get ourselves in trouble a lot when we are seeking a role, and we do it because we just need to have that sense of belonging and that sense of acceptance, but we're not thinking about what that role means or what it might require, or we align with a community or a group or a network that really is harmful and isn't out for us, but they've given us a role, so we go for it, but then we end up becoming something different than we wanted to be. Our identity is shifted potentially in negative ways. And the thing is, God gives us roles. And I think that when we remember our roles, first and foremost inside of Him, and then next inside of the communities that He does place us inside of, whether that is your family or your church or your town or any of these different, worlds that we live in, it's important, but at the same time, we need to remember where our first identity comes from, where our first role comes from, and that is Jesus. In Colossians 1, it talks about God and Jesus and His role, and I think we can learn a lot from this. It says, now the Son, Jesus, is the image of the invisible God. He was the firstborn over all creation. For in Him all things were created. Doesn't that sound like a role? He's got a position, He's got a title, He's got a job to do inside of this plan of God. Back to the verse. For in Him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through Him and for Him. He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn among the dead, so that in everything He might have supremacy. And it goes on and on. Really, Colossians 1:15 through 23 is beautiful, and I recommend you reading it and just spending some time there, because you can see some of what God's roles are. And here's my belief in life. When we understand who God is and what He has done, we understand who we are and what we can do. And so the more that we look to Jesus and understand His roles, we understand our roles. If Jesus is the head of the church, then that means that I have a place and a belonging inside of the church. If He is the firstborn among the dead, if He was resurrected to life, it means I can be resurrected to life. When it talks about Him being the Son, He modeled what it means to be in relationship with the Father. We have access to so many more roles than we realize. So for anyone who's struggling with identity or acceptance or belonging, I just encourage you to continue to look to Jesus, to look to God the Father, to look and figure out who they are, because we understand who God is and what He has done. We get to understand who we are and what we can do. And those roles aren't so ambiguous, and we don't have to go searching for them, and we're not going to search for them in the wrong places. I want you to have that. I want you to always remember your role.